Welcome to Education 101 with your host, Eric Wolfram. Education 101 is about the amazing education community we have in the greater Spokane area. We highlight the outstanding programs, teachers, supporters, and opportunities of the education community in the Spokane region. Education 101 is brought to you in part by STCU. Here's Eric.
And welcome to Education 101. I'm your host, Eric Wolfram. Today we're going to be talking about environmental education. And so I'm excited to have two people with me today. We've got Tony Taylor. And Tony, you are the Water Resource Specialist with Spokane County. Is that right?
Correct, yep.
Excellent. And then Jamie Otsby Marsh, right, from West Valley Outdoor Learning Center.
Yep.
So both great places and do a whole lot around the whole idea of environmental education, right? Mm-hmm. Not environmental information, which we're going to talk a little bit about both of those things, and probably you guys do both of those, but the push of environmental education. So let's start with that. Talk to me a little bit about what is environmental education or environmental sustainable education. Is that right? Or
sustainability education.
Okay,
yeah.
Thank
Mm-hmm.
you.
Yeah.
So talk to us a little bit about that.
So environmental education is what I do for a living. It's basically taking kids, not necessarily always outside, but getting them thinking about their natural resources and how they're connected to the environment, and ways that they can impact it positively and negatively.
Okay.
And outside of your traditional classroom curriculum. So we try to infuse whatever is being taught at the school and support it by doing environmental ed.
Excellent.
The state recently has come up with an endorsement for teachers.
Okay.
Where it's called environmental sustainability education, and it's more looking at, just getting deeper involved in how you impact the environment. So building how is affecting the economy, just even socially how the environment impacts you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and to add to that, it's just giving public awareness to concerns, particularly in our local area, and just helping people do some of their own critical thinking around our environment and issues we have.
So you talked about what are some of or around the idea of our local area. What are some of those concerns for our area?
Well, for me, because I really focus on water resources, everything water and watershed, it's really about keeping those waterways clean. We talk a lot about our aquifer being our sole source of drinking water, and how to prevent getting that polluted, as well as because our river and aquifer have an interchange to them, really being thoughtful about those two living beings, if you will, protecting them and knowing how to prevent pollution to those areas.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Are there other pieces in this area as well? So obviously the aquifer is a huge one for us. I would agree. It's something, and I can remember talking aquifer for as long as I can remember, which is good. So,
well, and I guess we would focus on water too, especially with the partnership we have, but just kind of getting kids in the community aware of their habitats and ecosystems.
Right.
And so just even natural curiosity. And so like even my own children, in our neighborhood, we live out in Chatteroy, they notice that someone's logging the land and they instantly are start thinking about, now what about all those deer that we know live out there? So just paying attention to what's going on around them and curious about their surrounding life and world that's just not human and driven.
And I think that's that critical thinking piece of seeing something that's happening and then kind of asking the question of how does that affect the bigger picture, right?
Yeah.
How does that affect the bigger things? So that's great. So what are some of the things that you guys do to help raise that awareness, I guess? And again, we're talking environmental education versus environmental information. And you guys, beforehand, we kind of talked about this, but that information side of the house is talking about the things, where education is more of the critical side the critical thinking piece that we just talked about. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I could think about what I did today for work. It's like I was mentioning, we went out to see the eagles at Wolf Lodge Bay, and that they're here right now. They're not
Right.
here all the time, and that it's a really unique thing that people could go do. And why aren't they here all the time? Well, it's because the kokanee salmon are spawning. This is the eagles know when the kokanee salmon are spawning, and this is why they're here. And so for us, just that's a local phenomenon that happens, and taking kids out there and their teachers and a bunch of parent adults that why is it happening right now and why isn't it all the time? Just
Right.
having that conversation about a unique, food web that's happening currently in front of them.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And we can have similar seasonal discussions around, our snowpack and understanding if it warms more quickly in the spring, how that'll impact our river levels and how that might impact later in the summer, a drier summer perhaps,
Right.
if we have an earlier, snowpack melt. And so, getting them to understand that our climate impacts things, impacts our local watershed and
Absolutely.
Well, I think about people that are like, as long as it stays up in the mountains, I don't mind having snow.
Yeah.
But in reality, they don't understand what that means when we don't have a lot of snow
Yeah.
here in Spokane. And that, I know it's miserable to drive in and shovel and whatnot, but there really isn't impact on your life and animals and resources life if we don't have a good snow.
If we don't have it.
So you have to be horribly have to drive in it, but
Exactly.
understand why it's okay.
Well, and I think about that. I mean, even this year, we're looking at, it's December now is when we're filming this. And that whole idea of, oh my gosh, we haven't had much snow, if really any so far, a little bit. And so that's, it's something that runs. through the mind.
That's the whole environmental sustainability education. So it's not just the impact on the ecosystem. Mount Spokane is just now opening.
Yeah.
Like when I remember when I was a kid, but Thanksgiving Day was when we went skiing for the first. That's what we did every year for
That's right.
Thanksgiving, and that's not happening now. Now it's not opening until late December, and then it's just a few chairs. So,
Right.
economically it impacts industries as well if we have changes in climate. But
Yeah. You guys have had a good partnership, and it's kind of I really like it because I always like to see when education crosses lines outside of the education world into whether it's with the county, with business, with nonprofits, and so on. And so, Jamie, you're with West Valley School District, right?
Yep.
And then Tony, you're with the Spokane County and out at the is it the Water Reclamation Center or Water Resources Center?
Water Resource Center,
Okay.
and we're adjacent to our water reclamation facility.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Which is a fascinating field trip all in itself. I've gotten to go through that. So so that partnership, formal educators and those informal educators, if you will.
Well, I'm definitely an informal educator and haven't been trained as a teacher, whereas Jamie has. And it helps bring into our facility because she brings a lot of all the West Valley fifth and
elementary kids and some middle school,
to our facility. So we have that partnership. She brings them there, and it really is valuable to us to have that formal educator in our facility. Now, when we're not partnering with her on something, we educate ourselves, and as an informal educator, what I can bring is topical expertise on something.
Right.
For teachers who, inside the classroom, they might need that extra, let's go learn about something very specific and get into the details of that. Like when they come to our facility, we can show them not only about some of the things I already mentioned, but we talk about human impacts and stormwater and wastewater and how our human impacts have to be managed and controlled, and they're kind of like our engineered water systems that we have to interact with the natural water system. So, so in the informal educator world, we're out there, and there's numerous partners out there that can bring field trips to locations or go to their classrooms.
Yeah, and I think it's an important piece to kind of touch base back around to with the idea that as formal educators, we have so many content areas, especially at the elementary level. Shoot, we can't be experts in all of it. So to be able to have those resources like yourself to be able to call on and find out. I mean, we definitely have a lot of strategies and things and can get through a lot of the content, but to really bring in those experts is always a great opportunity.
Well, and Spokane is full of them. I mean, there's everything from water to wildlife to physical science, and I love it because, we bring kids from West Valley to the Water Resources Center, and we've been doing this for, 7 years or something, and they come a lot, and when I ask them, what do they do here, they always are saying, this is where our water comes when we flush our toilet. They really get an idea, and so it's a tangible piece that they can experience as a 8-year-old student.
Absolutely, and they love it too. That's that piece that they can visualize and go, what? Yep. Okay, I flushed the toilet, it goes there, and now it goes here, and then that whole process is just fascinating. Yeah. So that's great. Speaking of the whole idea of formal educators, I know Jamie, you mentioned the whole idea of an endorsement for this. So talk a little more about that if there's anybody out there that's interested.
Yeah, so actually I know Eastern and Whitworth universities, they have the endorsement program for educators. I'm not exactly sure about criteria, how long it takes, but they have about 9 people in the cohort out at Whitworth, and it gets them kind of involved in programs that are going around in Spokane, so they get to have field experience, and so working with an organization that might have an environmental education program that they can kind of be part of and help design curriculum for. I would contact those people directly to do that, but if your people are interested in it.
And so is it through Whitworth, you said?
Whitworth and Eastern has
and out at Eastern. Excellent. And so do they usually work with someone like you? And
we've had some of their students out there, out at the Outdoor Learning Center. I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah, that's great.
And we've had some of the EWU students come and observe some lessons, and just to experience, this is what's out here in our community, that maybe they learn that we're a resource. So that's one thing we've had. And also, I'm working with possibly both EWU and Whitworth in helping me use their students to help align our lessons to the next gen science standards. And so those students get this great real world experience, helping me align our lessons better. And, it's just a neat partnership I hope to see develop in this next year.
Absolutely. So a lot of the lessons, sounds like you have a lot of lessons, obviously, with the Outdoor Learning Center. There's all kinds of lessons that kids come through and do that. But I tell you what, why don't we take a quick break, and then let's come back and let's talk about some of those experiences that maybe we can put together, and tell us a little more about your 2 places that you guys are at. So I think that would be great. So we'll be right back on Education 101.
Hi, this is Kurt Stockwell with Well Dressed Walrus. We are a local website design and development company here in Spokane. What we do is build beautiful, usable websites for local businesses. A website needs to be beautiful, it needs to be usable for your users, your customers, and yourself. Contact us anytime. We'd love to talk with you about your online marketing.
I'm Jade Becker, and I'm a senior at Chewelah High School. I'm at STCU's Money Live event. In this scenario that we played today, I was a realtor. My spouse was a city worker. We had an 11-month-old child, and there was a lot of spending for that child, like diapers and formula, and had to buy toys and clothing. I'm very glad that I had this experience. It was super helpful. You need this to get far and ahead in life. I'm Jade Becker, and STCU is here for good.
The following is sponsored by our friends and community supporters at McNeese Wheeler Attorneys. McNeese Wheeler is a boutique law firm in Spokane, handling matters in both Washington and Idaho. Areas of law include business law, wills, trusts and estates, family law, personal injury and wrongful death, and real estate matters. For your full-service legal needs, contact McNeese Wheeler Attorneys.
And welcome back to Education 101. Again, we're talking about environmental education. And so before we left, we were talking a little bit about the lessons and the different things that you guys do. And so I want to take the second half of the show today and give you guys each some time to talk about the Outdoor Learning Center and then talk about the Water Resource Center as well. And they're two excellent resources that we have in our region. Very cool programs both. And so I don't know if you guys need to rock, paper, scissors to see who goes first, but Jamie, that would be you. So tell us a little bit about.
Rock, paper, scissors, I won?
Yeah, you won pretty much. Yeah. So
about the center?
Yeah.
So we're part of West Valley School District.
That's right.
We probably about 75% of our time is with West Valley kindergarten through fifth grade students. So our district has science curriculum that we've adopted, and so we try to provide kind of the hands-on environmental focus for those K-5 teachers. We see every kid in West Valley's elementary program 3 times a year. So a couple times they come to the center, and then we try to offer a field experience, like I mentioned earlier about the eagles. So they're going to be studying structures and functions of animals and whatnot, and so going out to see the eagles is perfect. You can talk about it. But then the other part of our time is with non-West Valley. So if you're a classroom teacher that maybe is teaching second grade about insects and you are looking for a field trip, teachers can come to us. We're really good at either having canned programs that we're ready to rock and roll with, or if you're like, well, I was really curious about this, we're good at designing stuff too. So we can take about 100 kids at a time. That's not our dream number, but we do have a small fee that we charge because we have live birds of prey that we have to feed. So we have hawks and owls and a falcon that will actually come into the classrooms, or you can come to the center and meet them. But teachers can contact us. We can do physical science, earth science, or life science. Like I said, we have birds, we have tortoises and snakes and all sorts of things. So it's fun for kids to just get to come and see. It's, kind of a zoo here in Spokane.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And even in the classroom, you've got all kinds of stuffed animals and furs
the
and
idea is that they can
plants
see a
and things
cougar
like
up
that.
close when it's not being alive, and so they can
that would probably
appreciate
be a
it
good
from
thing.
far away. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then we also have community open houses once a month. And so our Facebook page is probably the best way to do that.
Right.
But the idea is that we're pre-K to gray is what we call ourselves. And so those open houses allow us to invite families to come in and do activities together. So, if you want to come in and look at the birds up close and take pictures, that's cool too.
Oh, that's great.
We have a different theme that we pick next month. We're focusing all about animal winter adaptations. So stuff you can do with your family, with the kids, and so
Oh, very cool. And that's open to anyone, not just West Valley.
Yeah.
I know that I've gotten to see this in multiple capacities. Number one, from a professional, I've been down there and had the opportunity to go through it. But then I also, was it last year, a couple of years back, I got to go with my son's school and do the whole system, because you guys have stations and things like that, right?
So we try to keep the kids kind of moving and shaking.
Right.
And then they usually rotate them through stations and focused around whatever the theme is for the day. And, teachers can come for the whole day or just for a couple hours, just depending on what works best for their schedule. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And we always try to go outside. We incorporate, and kids are funny. I'm wearing a T-shirt and I say, we're at the Outdoor Learning Center. We're going outside?
Yes, we
some
are.
Of our teaching just comes from how to dress to be outside. And
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and at that time, I know one of the pieces or one of the stations that we got to do was look down the well right there at the aquifer. At the aquifer. So, and that's your area. So why don't you tell us a little bit about some of the things that you guys have?
Right. That's Pasadena Park.
Yep.
Well,
Yeah, absolutely.
That's very cool when people actually see that depth and see, okay, we're getting that water out of there, and it makes the aquifer real for people. At the Water Resource Center, we're at Trenton Freya. It's actually on the old, the water reclamation facility is actually on the old stockyard site.
Oh, okay.
Used to be a Spokane stockyard. And we like to joke that it smells a lot better now than it did then.
That's exactly right. Even though it's a water reclamation center, it still does.
And the reclamation facility came online very end of 2011 and began treating all of the wastewater for Spokane Valley. And as part of building that, they wanted to build a water resource center, an educational component, so that one, there's somewhat of a requirement to do that when we discharge the reclaimed water into the river, Spokane River, and part of that permit requirement is also to provide some education about what we do and how to manage it. So, had the water resource center built there, and we see, along with the students Jamie brings, 2,000, 2,500 students a year there, plus adults, kind of like Jamie said, K to Gray. I give adult tours of the facility, of the water reclamation facility. People find it fascinating. They can't believe what actually happens when it leaves their home. And, there's physical, chemical, and biological processes. It's very interesting. We have one of the newest facilities in the western U.S. and very high tech. So that's really cool, learning about that. But back to the kids, getting field trips there, it's I've done a lot of outreach since I've been there a little over 4 years, and just trying to get us on the map, let teachers know we are here, and we do about a 2-hour field trip, depending on what the teacher needs, and we not only teach about the natural water cycle and water systems, but again about the engineered or human, we call it, water cycle, where we're making water dirty, whether it's our storm water or our what we flush or put down our drains, and saying, how do we return that to the environment safely? Yeah. And making people very aware of not only the obvious things not to flush for, like Legos and dolls and things, but
but really, so what you're saying is you've seen it where people have flushed Legos and dolls, which is why you would bring that up.
Well, I bring it up because I get that information from the kids, because I always ask them, what have you flushed that you knew you shouldn't flush? And those are often two of the answers. But
I love it.
But we never see it, it goes through our process. We can't retrieve wedding rings that fall down the toilet or anything. It's just kind of it all gets extracted through a very mechanical way. Right. So just, again, back to that awareness piece of we're all kind of personal polluters. We all contribute to various levels of pollution, and just have to be cognizant of that. Particularly, we teach a lot about that invisible pollution of a variety of chemicals that we use.
So just a couple curiosity questions. Number one, when I do flush, how long does it take before it's cleaned and back out to the river?
Jamie knows. 8 hours.
Really?
From when it comes to the headwaters, our headworks. And then the busiest day of the year.
Super Bowl. Is it Super Bowl?
How did you know that?
I just take a wild guess. I've always heard that.
Yes,
so.
Super Bowl. Yeah.
I learned that from Tony.
That's great.
And I teach it to thousands of children.
Maybe I heard it from there. So another curiosity question. One of the things that you always hear, it's going back out to the river, right? But what do we need to know about that in a nutshell? It's pretty clean.
Well, yeah. Class A reclaimed water is very clean water, and that's why I like teaching people about the process, because it's clean to a standard that is not legally drinkable. Okay. But it's safe to touch. It's safe we use it to water the lawns in around our facility. So very clean water gets kind of, if you will, disinfected at the end with a dechlorination process. And so by the time it hits the river, I always tell people, if you put a glass of our reclaimed water in front of me and a glass of any kind of natural water out, river, lake, stream, I'd take the reclaimed water. I mean, I have that much faith in the facility.
That's good. Yeah. That's good. So.
Well, and I always ask kids, they get grossed out when they think about it going into the river, right?
Yeah.
What are we supposed to do?
Exactly. Where's it supposed to go?
This is the only water we get, right? So if we don't take care of it or reclaim it, then...
Yeah. And I think that's the important piece of all the whole environmental education is just that idea, that understanding that we need to take care of this stuff and be aware. And really that starts with that awareness, which is some of the things that we're doing.
Well, and
I
that,
should
I
say
think
you guys
sometimes
are doing.
environmental education can be kind of gloom and doom, and that by giving kids the thing that there's something they can actually physically do, even if they're a 9-year-old kid, there's something they can do that has a positive outcome too, is nice. I don't want to be all doom and gloom all the time.
No, and that's it. That is a good thing. So, Tony, one of the fun activities that I know that I've seen over there is in your guys' conference room on the floor. There used to be a bunch of tape because you get to, wasn't it the whole idea you got to follow the water through the storm drains or through the streets or something, because it was a great one.
It's a stormwater maze, I think is what you're thinking.
Yes, that's it.
It's a stormwater maze, and so, yeah, it gives students the idea that water does run down our streets and goes in, can infiltrate the aquifer through the storm drains out in the county. Because our stormwater is not sent to a treatment plant. It's just absorbed through dry wells. But, so it's a stormwater maze where some kids play pollution and other kids play the water, and they work through the system, and they might get tagged with pollution. And so it's a great active learning.
Right. Yeah, it's a great activity. And the other thing that you guys have at that facility is the whole explanation of watershed, if I remember right, but then also how the process of filtering the water that comes into their system also. Is that right?
Right. And it's all connected again. When you say the word watershed, and you don't quickly think water treatment, but it really is all connected. And so getting that connection to them to say, we've got to, I guess I've said this, but clean it so that we can return it safely to our watershed, to our environment.
The fact that they're part of it, humans are part of the
that's right.
watershed too.
Yeah,
so.
absolutely.
And I also want to give a shout out to actually our community, our county voters, because they actually voted to include a fee that helps pay for a lot of this education, as well as water quality monitoring of our aquifers. So really forward-thinking citizens we have here in Spokane County to make that happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I think we know the power and the importance of our aquifer, and that's, we start thinking about water and how clean it is and how lucky we are with that. I know you have some great partners too around that, and so I don't know if it's a piece you want to touch on as we wrap up.
Along with Jamie, I just want to give a shout out to some other partners, and they all work either in the classrooms or provide field trip opportunities as well. And that's the City of Spokane has an educational arm there. National Weather Service, Spokane Regional Clean Air Agency, our Regional Solid Waste System, and Spokane Conservation District, our waste management system that handles our smart recycling center, and then Lands Council we've done some things with. And I'm proud of the fact that I'll partner with anyone, and a lot of times you don't think about the government and nonprofits partnering. But environmental education is going to take a lot of partnerships and not worry about our
absolutely.
silos.
That's right.
Well, I think Tony and I are resources. Like if you have an idea, you can get a hold of one of us. We know somebody can help you out.
Absolutely.
So it's
wonderful.
bigger than us.
Well, and I think that's a great place to kind of start to wrap things up here. So thank you two for being here. So again, Jamie from the Outdoor Learning Center at West Valley.
And our next open house is January 12th.
January 12th.
Yeah, so put
excellent.
it on your calendars.
Yep, absolutely. Tony, thanks for being here too. And that'll do it for Education 101. Thanks for joining us.
Education 101 is produced in Spokane, Washington by SpokaneTalksOnline.com, which is solely responsible for its content. Education 101 is brought to you by our friends at STCU. Ask Eric a question, recommend a guest, and hear this program again online anytime at SpokaneTalksOnline.com.